Topping the agenda of the state is the governor's proposed budget totaling more than $117 billion. It's $2.2 billion more than last year. Here's how some of that breaks down. $1.56 billion for teacher pay increases. That's a modest bump from last year. $30.6 billion for K through 12th grade in the public school education system, plus an additional $4 billion for state universities. The budget also sets aside $118 million for pay raises for law enforcement and firefighters, slightly less than last year. Transportation remains a large focus with $15.4 billion for the Florida Department of Transportation and $14.3 billion for Florida's long-term transportation spending plan. Healthcare funding does include millions for veterans, nursing homes, child welfare, and behavioral health services. I'd like to start off the segment with you, Bamitra. Education seems to go on the back burner when you have all these other issues about AI regulation, property tax elimination. How does education factor into the affordability and the quality of life in the region?
Sure. So our new report shows that we have more than 150,000 units short of what we need in Tampa Bay for our residents. And what we've seen is that wages haven't caught up, haven't kept pace with the housing costs. So rental costs have gone up almost 48%, while wages have only gone up about 29%. So any kind of increases to teachers, essential workers is going to be really helpful because most of those folks fall between 60 and 100% of average median income. So we see this as a positive sign if we're doing something to help a group of workers that so desperately need assistance.
The Florida Education Association has come out and said that we have a retention crisis in terms of teachers. So many of them are happy that this is included in the budget. Jake, I'd like to ask you, Democratic leaders are arguing that the governor's budget doesn't do enough to address the affordability crisis. Do the numbers, really support that criticism?
No, I mean, but if you're a Democrat in Tallahassee, all you can really do is offer criticism because you don't really have a say at the table, while they are actually doing legislation. So I think that when you talk about a $117 billion budget, that is a massive number. It's massive even to people who've been in Tallahassee for a long time. They are spending money on so many different things, and no matter what they do, they can't control inflation. That's not their job. They can barely control the housing market because you have so many people who've moved here over the past few years, and like was just mentioned, we have a housing shortage, so we need to build more houses. So how do you do that? I actually think one of the things that's being undercovered nationally is the work being done at the Federal Housing Administration, and if they can do some of the things up there where they can get assumable rates for mortgages. If you can do something like that, you can totally change the game. But these are things that are outside of Tallahassee and their $100 billion budget. They're going to do with that what they will. They can't just snap their fingers and get people money back other than getting rid of property taxes.
Jennifer, there's the question of, the governor is a lame duck at this point. The election is in November. His term is up in January. Do you all think that he has the sway that he needs to have, the command of the legislators in order to get this budget passed before the end of the 60 days?
I don't believe so. I mean, it was kind of apparent with the fracture inside the legislature right now. He is a lame duck, and that's quite apparent. He can come out with a very large budget and make it look like he's doing a lot for affordability, and all of that sounds good and a lot of talking points. The bonuses to the firefighters and the teachers, and that's so necessary, but it does nothing to address the cost of living, property insurance, homeowners insurance. I mean, like the amount of different things that we really do need to address healthcare costs in the state of Florida. It's not really touching any of that.
Mike, what would you say are the pressure points? You have the budget writers who are going to be, writing this. What would you say are the pressure points for that as they prepare to write this budget that everyone has to vote on?
And it's between Republicans because Democrats just don't matter. So
well, the Republicans have the supermajority, and
they have the supermajority, and it's a clear dominance. But some of the pressure points, it's going to be affordability. I think also cost cutting. The House is much more aggressive in cutting costs. So they're fully behind property tax cuts. But the Senate has a much more go slow approach, much more, you might even say, pragmatic. Ben Albritton, a citrus farmer, is very concerned about rural counties and the services that they receive. So he's very hesitant right now to cut taxes. And of course, last year, there was a deal to cut $5 billion in sales taxes, and that fell apart because of the same, I think, concern from Albritton to make sure that those services don't get cut.